Home console video game releases don't usually transition very well to handhelds due to the fact they are just scaled down versions of the main release. The only way to make a handheld version of a game appealing is to make it completely different, and this is what Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery does for the DS. Of course, it has to be good though.
My name is Ezio Auditore da Firenze. It has been 15 years since the Spaniard, Rodrigo Borgia, murdered my family and drove me into exile.
You play as Ezio, but the plot isn't the same as the PS3 and 360 versions, and yeah, it's not as good. The game is really short, and as a result there isn't much room here for an interesting plot. The game feels more like a telling of Ezio's daily routine, and not so much of a story of any extraordinary proportion. Despite the pretty uninspired plot, it kept me playing as it kept me interested just enough for me to want to know what happened next.
But my responsibility to the assassins is stronger still.
Discovery is quite unusual. The best way to describe the gameplay mechanics is Ezio, imbued with the speed of Sonic the Hedgehog, and instead of the Green Hill Zone you've got the Italian Renaissance. It's certainly an odd mix, and it works. Sort of. Stealth still plays a big part in this Assassin's Creed game, and now Ezio has the ability to run at super high speed, clambering up walls and leaping from rooftop to rooftop. This mechanic is fun to pull off, but in my honest opinion, Sonic the Hedgehog and stealth don't mix that well. Imagine if Sonic the Hedgehog had to make it through one of his levels without being seen. If you were to undertake this task, you would have to go through the level very slowly, and you wouldn't be able to make any use of Sonic's speed. This is kind of what Discovery feels like to an extent. Where I wanted to just breeze through the level, I realised I couldn't, as if I was spot 3 times I had to start at the last checkpoint. That, and there's a lot of trial and error involved if you do run like that. The screen isn't wide enough, and I found myself jumping off ledges, not knowing what I would land on, and sometimes I would fall from a too great a distance and die. That, or I would land right in front of a guard's sights. You have to be quite close to an enemy before he will appear on the map, and timing your advances on enemies can be quite awkward, especially if there's no hiding place. You only have to do this during the stealth part of the game though. If an enemy does spot you, you can run or you can fight. The combat is easy enough to pull off and it doesn't get stale. It's all about timing. When an enemy blocks an attack, you have to attack again as he blocks. There's also a simple counter mechanic here. As you block, you hit Y when your enemy's hits. Ezio then retaliates with an impressive kill. The other part of the game is where Ezio makes more use of his newly found speed, and has to escape from an army of guards hell-bent on killing you. Normally you would do this when Ezio has killed his mark. Not so much of an assassin then. Whilst it was nice to not have to be stealthy during these bits, this part of the game also had a fault. Arrows keep raining down on you, and if you stop to fight an enemy, those arrows will keep hitting you. It can get quite frustrating if arrows kill you, as some seem impossible to avoid or block. The moments of the game where you don't have to be stealthy or quick are by far the best parts of the game. Unfortunately, it's these qualities you have to excel in if you want a high score for the level, and that's Discovery's main aim of the game, to get high scores.
Sant'Angel's intuition proved correct.
Graphically, Discovery looks good, but it's nothing worth boasting about. It's gone for the realistic look, and it would have looked better if it went more cel-shaded or cartoony. The animations are nice and fluid, and it is quite pleasing seeing Ezio stick a blade in someone's gut.
I found him!
Gore fanatics will be disappointed though, as there is no blood, despite the killings looking quite brutal.
Remarkable.
The level design gets repetitive as it's all set in Italy. I know this seems quite unavoidable, but Italy can't look the same everywhere, can it? Character models are reminiscent of the PlayStation 1, but all characters have voice acting. Even the tutorial has a voice.
Press the B button to jump.
And whilst not everyone is a decent voice actor,
Antonio's been asking for you, Ezio. You should talk to him.
Ezio sounds great. Characters have no facial animation though, but the voice work saves these characters from being dead.
That's true, but I am not a hired blade.
This is one of the shortest action games I have ever played, and because I still enjoyed it, I would highly recommend renting this one. You can go back and get high scores in the levels, but since there are only a few unlockables and no online leaderboards, it's a game that you might be finished with in a single playthrough. It is clear to me though that Ezio works better in 3D, but Discovery is still a valiant DS transition, and it was better than my rather low expectations. I'm going to give Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery a 7 out of 10.
Won't allow the remaining 5 to share this man's fate.
Many thanks, brother.